Welcome to the brand new series reviewing the major enterprise community platforms. We're going to go through each of them one at a time. We're going to use the same scorecard every time. There's going to be 9 capabilities that we look at, so you're going to be able to compare them like for like. First up is going to be Higher Logic Vanilla. But before we get into it, I want you to understand the context because the ground has shifted a lot under this whole decision. Choosing a platform used to be a 5-year bet. You could afford to get slightly wrong and maybe survive, but I think that's changed now. And the reason it's changed is because of Khoros. Khoros for years was almost the default heavyweight for enterprise communities, but now it's faded. They wound down Khoros Care. Customers are migrating off. And when your platform vendor is in trouble, your roadmap certainly is too. And at the same time, AI has raised the stakes on getting the choice right because your platform is now feeding the answers to your members and to their AI tools. So if you pick the wrong platform, you feel it a lot faster than what you used to. So the pressure to choose well is higher than it's been for years, and that's the backdrop for this whole series. And it's also why vanilla is especially interesting. Vanilla is interesting because it nearly missed its moment. Vanilla started in 2006 as forums that essentially, they looked good, they were easy to stand up. And they were a small team winning enterprise logos they had no business winning. Then Higher Logic bought Vanilla, I think around 2021 for around 80 million, I think. And that made sense on paper. Higher Logic was very strong in associations and weak in the enterprise space. Vanilla was completely the opposite. And then it drifted. For a couple of years after the acquisition, it felt like Higher Logic had really taken its eye off the ball. When we ran our Buzz report a couple of years ago, Vanilla was one of the platforms starting to look a little bit left behind. The product simply wasn't keeping pace. I don't think that's no longer the case. Vanilla is shipping again, and it's shipping the things that matter for where the market is going. And that turnaround is why, for a general purpose enterprise community, I now put Vanilla in the top 2 all-around platforms you can select. So here's the evidence, and I'll be honest about what's missing as well. One thing to be clear, because it constantly confuses buyers, is that Higher Logic sells 2 community platforms, not 1. Higher Logic Vanilla is the one we're reviewing today. It's a B2B and B2C product. It's built for support, knowledge, and product feedback. It's got Q&A rooted at its heart. Higher Logic Thrive is different. Thrive started out aimed at associations, but it now goes after the enterprise market too. And it's a different experience. The platform you pick if you want members hanging out and chatting every single day is Higher Logic Thrive. But if you want the more Q&A experience, then Vanilla is probably the best fit for you. And they're run quite separately inside the company as well. I don't think they even share a local support team. They're very separate in how they're marketed and sold. So if a daily social members hanging out community is what you're after, Thrive might be the best bet for you. And I'll review that on its own. But everything from here on out is going to be about Vanilla. So should you buy Vanilla? Essentially, you should buy Vanilla if you recognize this. If you're running an enterprise B2B community for support, knowledge, and product feedback, you need deep permissioning with members seeing different things. You want a real path from a question to an answer to a knowledge base article, and you may need multiple brands or languages on one platform. But you should look elsewhere if your community is built around, say, events, or if most of your members live on their phones. These are 2 places Vanilla is genuinely weak. And I'll show you the numbers rather than bury them at the end. So let's start with the core. Discussions and Q&A. I score Vanilla a very solid 8 out of 10 here. The standout is the Q&A. Vanilla has the cleanest separation between an open discussion and a question that needs an answer of almost any platform I reviewed. You get accepted answers, AI suggested answers, and a genuine route from a resolved question into a knowledge base article. If your community genuinely exists to deflect support tickets, that loop is the whole game, and Vanilla does that incredibly well. It also has the best Zendesk integration of the group, which matters more than it sounds if your support team lives in Zendesk. You can see this working on the Smartsheet community which runs on Vanilla. 80% of questions there are answered by other members, only 20% by moderators. That ratio is what good Q&A design buys you. But here's the honest counterweight to that. On raw forum depth, vanilla is a notch behind Discourse, which I would put at a 9. Discourse has the read position tracking, the wiki mode, the code blocks, the real-time touches as well. If pure discussion craft, if that pure forum-only experience is what you want, vanilla is probably not the best option. But if you want more of that, if you want more of that integrated support experience, vanilla is fantastic. For most enterprise teams, this isn't the deciding factor, which is why vanilla is usually way up there. Second, and the most forward-looking one, AI. I rate AI at a 7 for vanilla. Vanilla, at the time of saying this, around June the 16th, vanilla is one of only 4 platforms with a live MCP. That's a Model Context Protocol. It's a connection that lets your AI tools read and act inside your community. And Vanilla's is the only one of the 4 that's free on every tier and can take member-facing actions, not just answer questions. It can send a DM, it can award a badge, and it can tag content as well. That's a different category of useful. But there's 2 honest caveats here because I haven't been able to test it hands-on yet. One is that it's still in beta. Access is gated and behind a beta agreement, so the rollout is definitely phased. And when I talked to HireLogic's own production team about this, they're rebuilding everything around this. They're rebuilding their moderation tooling to fill the gap enterprises felt when Khoros wound down Khoros Care. They're adding automated demographics, so the platform can segment members by tenure, role, or activity and then act on those groups. And they're also building what they call data shipping. This is essentially the ability for enterprise customers to get all their data out. And I think all of these things are a very credible roadmap. But it's also a roadmap, so judge it on what actually ships. Vanilla also has some other strengths worth considering. One is customization. You get more customization here than on most platforms. You get more than on Gainsight and other platforms. The layout editor lets you drop in and target widgets by role without a developer. The widget builder goes even further than that, syncing files to your local environment and giving an AI coding tool the guardrails and data types it needs to build a custom widget for you. So the ceiling here is incredibly high. Reaching it still rewards someone with design and technical skill. 2 is permissioning. Vanilla goes deep on permissioning. It offers specific roles, private areas, category level access, beta groups, and more. If different members should see different things, this is one of the best in the market. 3 is scale. It handles multiple brands, sub-communities, and languages from one instant about as well as anything else out there. Next is analytics. You can build your own dashboards, filter deep by category, and pull everything out through the API, which HireLogic's own team will tell you is one of the strongest parts of the product. There's an ROI calculation tool for case deflection, and analytics that flag advocates in the making and accounts drifting towards churn. The limit here is manual export. Getting data out by an API is easy. A clean manual export less so, but with the MCP that tackles a lot of these issues. Next is support. Like the better platforms in the market, Vanilla has a strong support team. Customers consistently rate the people they deal with very highly, and this matters a huge amount over a multi-year contract than any single feature. Now let's talk about the holes, some of the issues with Vanilla which I don't think they score particularly well in. One is events. I score Vanilla a 3 out of 10 in events. If your community runs on meetups, webinars, and an events calendar, this is not your platform. Bevy and Gradual are much better for that than what Vanilla is. And next is mobile, also a 3. The experience is very desktop first. If your members live on their phones, you might feel it. Mighty Networks and Highbright are probably best in class here, but Vanilla is really not at the top level for a mobile experience. Now, neither of these things are fatal for a classic enterprise supporting community sitting on the desktop. Both are deal breakers, however, if they are central to how your members behave. So know which you are before you actually sign. One more smaller thing that you should know about, ideation. Ideation I don't think is as important to most companies as it used to be, but if it is, I score it a 5 out of 10. You do get ideation boards with voting, but the workflow is less sophisticated than the best-in-class platforms. For a B2B SaaS community where product feedback is the point, Gainsight is way ahead on this measure. It has idea scoring and weighted by account value. If your community's main job is feeding the product roadmap, you should weigh that incredibly high. And also worth flagging, vanilla finally offers email digest, which corrects a long-standing gap. So let's put it all together. For a general purpose enterprise community, I think vanilla is in the top 2, probably alongside Gainsight as well. The specialists beat it on one thing: discourse on the depth and quality of discussions. It is a pure forum-based experience, and I think discourse is best in class for that. Gainsight on product feedback, Bevy and Gradual on events. But across everything an enterprise community needs at once, vanilla doesn't actually have an obvious weakness. And that breadth is what most teams really need. So I put it in the top 2 for sure. So is it for you? I think for most enterprise B2B community teams, yes, you should at the very least have this on your shortlist, speak to the team and get to know them. Particularly if you've already ruled out some of the heavier legacy platforms that are out there and you want a vendor that's shipping towards the AI era rather than away from it. You should say no if events on mobile are core to your community, or if you have that one overriding need that a specialist serves better and you're willing to give up that breadth to get it. The real trade-off with vanilla has always been the same: ease of use versus customization. It strikes a better balance between the two than almost anyone. But if you sit hard at either extreme, you'll definitely feel some difficulty here. And on commercials, there's a couple of things worth knowing. Vanilla is enterprise priced. It's sold on multi-year contracts. I'm not going to quote a number on the screen because what you pay depends on your size and your negotiation, and I feel anything I put up will be out of date by the time you watch this. And that's vanilla, a platform that was drifting a couple of years ago and is, in my view, one of the top 2 all-round platforms for a general purpose enterprise community today. Honestly, I find it shocking that if you went back 5 years ago and said essentially vanilla and Insided, now Gainsight, would be the top 2 platforms, I think we'd all be quite surprised. But that's how it's played out at the moment. I think vanilla is exceptional at the QA to knowledge loop. I think it's strong across the middle, and it's forward-leaning on the AI connection and held back mainly by events and mobile, neither of which I think is a critically severe issue. I think vanilla, perhaps more than any other platform at the moment, has momentum behind them. They are really competing and winning a lot of the major clients that are out there today, especially those moving off Khoros. The full scorecard behind this video is free. Download it, check it against your shortlist, and tell me in the comments where you think I've got vanilla wrong. And if you want help choosing a platform or getting a community ready for what's coming, you can find me at FeverBee.com. I'll see you in the next video.